Hey, what's up, guys? Bob the Gamer here, coming at you with a Edison deck profile today. So I wanted to showcase this deck where I won this Light and Darkness Dragon mat. It was at regionals in Detroit 3 or 4 weeks ago, and I just haven't got around to recording. Anyway, it is a Flamvell Zombie instant fusion deck. I know Flamvell Zombies has kind of been a meme in the past, but I really wanted to try to make it work, and through a bit of playtesting, the instant fusions really kind of came in and did some work. So we'll go through the zombie package first. We have one zombie master, two goblin zombies. We have one reaper, one Mizuki, one plague, and then we have the recruiters. We've got three turtles, and then we have one mystic tomato. So this build plays double Book of Life, so you really want to have zombies. So getting the additional turtles and the way for tomato to go into the goblin zombies really helps kind of get the zombie package going. So that's the zombie package that we play. The Flamvell package that we play, it's 3 fire dogs and 2 magicians. So fire dog obviously is a tremendous card. One of the main inspirations for this build was everybody's playing hamsters. Everybody's playing Blackwings. 1900 just really lets you get over things that you normally would struggle to get over in zombies. And so that was kind of the inspiration for this. I'm on 2 of these. Don't play 3. I tried it. It bricks so bad. You don't ever want to draw these things. Through the games, if you do draw 1, it's not too bad. You can typically play around it or play out of it. But if you draw both, then your fire dogs are just 19 beaters, and it's not really that great. But that's the Flamvell engine. We are playing 4 tuners in this deck. So here's kind of the miscellaneous cards. We've got one Gale. This card just gets around a lot of different things. Vanity's Fiend. A thing that I also found that I was able to do with it is I would steal, say, like a Shura or something. Brain Control Shura, attack over, get the effect, and then I could special summon the Gale out of my deck. And then synchro off with their Shura and not have to commit one of my other cards to the board. And it just outs a lot of annoying cards. It makes Christia easier to deal with, at least for that turn. It really gets around a lot of different things, and it's kind of like a one-card problem solver. We play 3 Caius because we are on the instant fusions, so you want to be able to do things with those instant fusions, whether it's the Gale or the Magicians or the Plague Spreader. And then we're on Gore's Dark Arm. I don't like Trigodi in this build. I don't think it's super great, but obviously Dark Arm you have to run, and Gore's just wins games. So we'll go ahead and go on to the spells here. A lot of these are pretty standard. So we've got Brain Control, Mind Control, Creature Swap. So one of the main issues with zombies is people will see recruiters and they will just leave them there. So say they have 2 monsters on the board and they attack into a Pyramid Turtle. You can't just go into Goblin Zombie and keep it on the field and be expected to synchro with it next turn. So what they'll usually let you do is they'll let you go into a second Pyramid Turtle and then just not attack it. So that way they kind of play around that. Creature Swap kind of lets you get around that. It can be a neg-1, but I mean, I've stolen Christias with it. I've stolen Dark Gaias that were 5,500 with it. And you can always side it out, but I like it. It's been really good. Spell and Trap removal, we've got Heavy, MST, Standard. We're on 2 Book of Moons. I think about playing a 3rd in the main. It's a really good card. It works well with Fire Dog. It lets you get over most things other than Goyo or Stardust. And it's just a really good card. The only reason I didn't want to is when I went to the regional, I expected a lot of IU Turbo. And so I didn't want to Book a Moon their Vayu summons to make them real. But it's a great card. I'm really high on Book a Moon right now. I really like it. Here's kind of some of the extender cards that we play. So we have your 2 Book of Lives, 2 Instant Fusions, and then we have the Devil Rekindling. So I tried 3 Rekindling. It's kind of the same thing as the Magician, is it just bricks. But I really like the 2/2 and 2. Book of Life has been tremendous. I really like this card. It's great against Vayu. Even against Blackwings that run a Vayu, you can knock it out, or you can stop their level 4 with their Blizzard play with that. Kind of preemptively keep them off of Dark Armed. that type of thing. Instant Fusion, we'll go over the targets in the extra deck, but it definitely plays Reaper on the Nightmare. I'm sure everyone's aware of that card at this point. If not, I'll go over it there. But those are kind of like our extenders for the deck. It's not as explosive as Diva Hero or Diva Zombies or Diva Hero Zombies. But one thing that I did notice was that it's pretty consistent. You can consistently have a big board, and a lot of the times they have to break your board with Stardust and Thought Ruler with a couple back row. That can be pretty difficult. Adding on to the extenders here, we have Return from the Different Dimension. This card's cracked. I used it against a Blackwing player up there. Brought back 5 creatures, and I was able to fight through 2 Icarus attacks, and ended up, I believe, on a Brio, and he had no cards in hand after that. It was crazy. This card's amazing. Call the Haunted. It's just good in zombie decks, being able to extend with Goblin Zombies, get your pluses off of that. For other traps, we play Torrential, Mirror Force. Weirdly enough, 1 Bottomless, 1 Deep Prison, 1 Compulse. So there's a reason for this, and we'll get to that in the side deck. But I didn't want to overload myself with traps, and I wanted them to respect the cards. Most of the time when people see Bottomless, they're going to expect another one. So they're kind of trying to play around that in their mind. Same with Deep Prison. Not a lot of people play 1 Deep Prison. And Compulse and Deep Prison, I kind of subscribe to Fitz's theory that these are just better against different things. Fairies, obviously, went to Deep Prison. Machina, you went to Deep Prison. But Compulse is really good against Vayu. When you compulse their Armed Wings or their Armor Masters. They play Return and Burial, so they can get those resources back if they're banished. But if they're just back in the extra deck, they have to make them again. So that's it for the main deck. It's 41 cards because I want to try and not draw Magicians. Is because they suck. So we'll go to the extra deck. So we'll hit the fusions first. So we have 1 Darkfire Dragon, and we have 1 Reaper on the Nightmare. Darkfire Dragon's really good. You can use this and Flamvell Magician to make a Dark End, which is pretty nice. Being able to just pop that out kind of whenever you want to. You can also use the Magicians with Goblin Zombies to make Dark End, which is pretty neat. But yeah, he's been really good. The only time that he sucks is Dragons are a deck, and Quackimera Drago does prevent you from summoning this guy. I mean, Reaper too, because he's a dark, but it does stop you from going into plays with that, whereas the Carbonella Warrior, who's an Earth, that's something that you could use to do that. But I think overall, as a whole, just Darkfire Dragon's just better. It helps set up for Dark on plays. It lets you go to that quick Dark End or Stardust or whatever you want with additional Magicians you might have drawn in your hand. For 5s, we only play the 1. We play Cataster. 6s, I kind of want to play another one, but we do 1 Brio, 1 Goyo, and we do Revive King Hades. Some people might call it Hades. It's not as cool. This card is amazing. If you guys are not aware, this thing will stop Treeborn Frog from coming back. It stops Vayu. It stops Plague Spreader. It stops Rykos. It stops DD Warrior Lady. This card stops crazy amounts of stuff. They have to remove the card from the graveyard, not by its own effect like Treeborn, before it's live. So if you hit a Treeborn, it just stays in grave, and they can't bring it back during standby phase. So that's really, really good. It stops Recruiters. It stops dang near everything. This is a really, really good card. Every zombie deck should play it. I don't play Doomkaiser. I would like to, but I took it out for a separate card, which I will show you in a moment. But that's the 5s and the 6s. 7s, we actually play 3 7s. So we do Black Rose Dragon, obviously, Herbellum, and we do Armor Master. I like Armor Master into Black Wings because if you only have that on the field and they don't have like a Deep Prison or something, it's kind of hard for them to out. They have to use Blizzard or something like that, or they could go Neg on Icarus, I suppose. But it stops their Kalutes, and they can't do, Sirocco, pump over an attack and beat over and do a bunch of damage. It could just help stall against them. And like I mentioned earlier, if you Brain or Mind, like a Shura or something, you can special the Gale and make this guy. So, he's pretty good. He's not the best card in the deck, and I could see cutting him, but I like him. Herbellum's really, really good. You do this with Reaper on the Nightmare and Plague Spreader, and if they have 4 cards in hand, then you just you just take it. I did one play. I was playing against a Light Sworn player. He had Lumina on the field. So I mind controlled, summoned Magician, made this guy, and just knocked a card out of his hand to the top of the deck, so he lost his draw phase. It just set him back a turn, and he really needed that card. So those cards are really good. This is what I took out for the Doomkaiser for. I don't know if it's right or wrong, but I like it. We're going to go to 8s. We play a lot of 8s because Flamvell's, in Rekindling plays, you need to make 8s. So we play 2 Stardust Dragons. Yeah, I know, it's different arts. I kind of like both of them, so I figured I'd play one of each. It doesn't really matter. We play 1 Thought Ruler Archfiend, 1 Red Dragon Archfiend, Dark End, obviously, and Colossal Fighter. So these are all the 8s that we have. I like Double Stardust. I think that's necessary. And like I said, it can kind of come down to you have to break my board a little bit in this matchup. And it's just good against Raikos and things like that. Thought Ruler is obviously very good. It's always the eternal debate. Does he have Bottomless or does he have Deep Prison? And they always have the other one. And then Red Dragon is nice because he gets around recruiters. So even if you attack a recruiter itself, he will kill the recruiter with his effect. So they don't get their effect. Dark End, obviously, is broken. You go into him really, really easily with the Magicians and Goblin Zombie. That's a pretty common play, or the Instant Fusion. And Colossal's really good. I would like to play another Colossal to play around with like Blackwings or Light Sworns for Honest or Fairies. But the extra deck's just a little tight. So that's the extra deck. On to the side deck. So the side deck's a little bit weird. It plays a little bit of Floodgates. So I only play 3 monsters. We play 1 DD Crow, 1 Kaiku, and 1 Fossil Dyna. I like Fossil Dyna quite a bit against Frogs because it's one of the hardest cards for them to get over in the main deck. Even Hero Frogs, they've only got a couple cards that can beat over him. I would like to play more than 1 Crow, but I like the Crow and Kaiku. And sometimes zombie decks get sided Deck Devastation Virus against them, and I can throw in the Kaiku. You can chain Crow to Deck Devi, but if you draw it after the first activation, you can't chain him to it, which is kind of a lame ruling. But it is what it is. Crow's good enough as it is. So those are the only monsters that we play. For the magic cards, I refuse to call them spells. We've got Shrink, we've got Forbidden Chalice, we've got the Third Book of Moon, and Soul Release. So the idea with Shrink and Chalice, which I know are a little bit weird, is that I wanted some things that could have happened in the damage step. For example, if you have Stardust out, and they summon, say you're playing against Blackwings, and they summon Sirocco, they go Sirocco, attack Stardust, and then you can go damage step Shrink. So even if they collude, he goes to 2400 and he still dies. So that can be pretty beneficial. And I just needed more magic cards because of other sides that I have. So we play 2 Rugs. Obviously, this is against like Frogs, Machina, Diva Hero. It's a good card. Zombies really struggles with Caius. And if you get Caiused, it kind of hurts. So it is what it is. Speaking in that same notion, we play 3 Iron Walls. So Imperial Iron Wall, no cards can be banished, so it basically gives you infinite Plague Spreaders as long as you have cards in hand, which is pretty nice. As well as no Caius, no Deep Prison. You can chain it to Deep Prison and Caius. And you cannot chain it to Bottomless. Well, you can, but it's going to destroy the monster, so the monster's destroyed and not banished. So if you're reading Bottomless, you want to flip this up beforehand because then they can't activate it. And then for the rest of the traps that we have, we do 2 Decrees and a Dust Tornado. So I go back and forth on if I want to keep the Decrees or not, but it was really good. Especially playing against like Blackwings and Vayu. They tend to play a lot of traps, so Decrees just kind of shut them down and let your Fire Dogs get through. And, you get your pluses off of that. And that's why we play those additional defensive cards, the Shrink, the Chalice, and the Book of Moon. Because you still want to have your defense for like the Stardust plays. But that's kind of why we do that, so we rotate some of those around when we do that. But yeah, guys, that's the deck profile. I got, I won one of the pods in Detroit, and I think it's a fun deck. It's got good going second plays with the instant fusions and the fire dogs. But yeah, I think give it a shot. It's pretty cool, and I'll catch you later.